Now, hate crimes and harassment, particularly targeting Asian Americans during the coronavirus pandemic, are on the rise in the U.S. However, there's also a rise in movements to help those being affected, including bystander intervention training to get people witnessing such events to respond. Caroline Malone reports.
From San Francisco to New York, Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., there's been a series of protests against anti-Asian violence this year. People are taking a stand against the wave of anti-Asian bias seen across the US since the COVID-19 pandemic began. More than 10,000 people reported to law enforcement that they were the victim of hate crime last year, according to FBI data. Of those, there was a noticeable increase in attacks on people identifying as Black or Asian. The Stop Asian American and Pacific Islander hate group reports a surge in racism and discrimination. However, there's also been a rise in groups equipping people to de-escalate a situation. Non-profit civil rights organization Asian Americans Advancing Justice Los Angeles has a series of online virtual training sessions teaching people how to respond.
This Asian American woman who was confronted in a restaurant and being verbally harassed, like in that situation, what would you have done?
In partnership with the people-powered global movement Hollaback, courses include bystander training for people who want to help when they witness someone being harassed.
The methodology that we train on is the 5 Ds of bystander intervention that Hollaback has invented. And so they've come up with the 5 Ds, which are distract, delay, document, delegate, and direct. And so in our training, we go through the 5 different Ds. But the point of all of these is that we want you to be able to de-escalate a situation, not further escalate it.
How to respond to harassment for people who are experiencing anti-Asian American harassment.
Initiatives with groups partnering with Hollaback have helped train 125,000 people in the US this year with bystander intervention to address anti-Asian xenophobic harassment.
Yeah, bystander intervention, I think it empowers folks. It restores power, it doesn't leave the issue of feeling safe, of kind of ending harassment, crime, of taking care of each other to the government, to politicians, to law enforcement, right? It allows us to think about care on a community level.
Hollaback says post-training surveys show 98% of people who take part feel more equipped to do something about harassment. And as many as 2 out of 3 attendees say they've used the technique since being trained in the last 6 months. A rise in hate crime and harassment against Asian Americans has been recorded by law enforcement agencies and civil rights groups. On the federal level, President Biden signed the COVID-19 hate crime bill back in May, seeking to counter anti-Asian hate. On the grassroots level, there are initiatives seeking to empower people against harassment in all its forms. Caroline Malone, CGTN, Washington.